Hi, I'm Ellie, the founder of Sage Strategy Group, and I started this company because I really love customer experience and really love customer experience. So much so that I make my own buttons. Every episode, I wear a new one, and today's CXE pin is Get It CXE. And I'm serving really big CX energy today, so I needed a pin that matched those vibes as well. This podcast is called the CX Universe, and the CX Universe is a framework that I built to help companies understand what customer experience environment they're operating in and why it's impacting their growth, churn, and team experiences. Each episode, we break down a real company, score their customer experience, and map them to an archetype inside the CX universe so that you can see exactly where you might be, where your company is in the CX universe. And today we are talking about why Notion suddenly feels super, super complicated and what that is actually costing them. So, no, Notion didn't get worse. It just got more complex. And that complexity is costing them and other companies like it millions of dollars. Okay. Millions. I'm talking over $100 million. Okay, you guys. Lots and lots and lots of money. Every company operates inside what I call a customer experience environment. And today we're placing Notion inside the CX universe to identify its archetype and, again, what it's costing them in dollars, in cash. Okay. There is an archetype in the CX universe that I like to call the fragmented engine. It's what happens when a company builds a whole bunch of stuff, but the customers understand less and less. So, again, those characteristics have something to do with rapid product expansion, lots and lots of features, a whole very, very powerful tool with user overwhelm and low clarity. And so I like to start with each one of my diagnoses with the revenue because this will tell you a lot about the environment that you are acting in. And as you can see, Notion's revenue has grown consistently over the past years. It started around 250 million in 2023 and has now moved to about 400 million, and I've seen reports of more, actually upwards of almost 500 million in revenue growth in 2025. So this is not a failing company, it's a scaling one. Anytime you see this stair step of growth, you know that this company is scaling. And I get these numbers from public sources such as TechCrunch, Forbes, and other VC reports. So if you guys would like to do the same, feel free. And then what is the CX scorecard? What does that mean? I am going to look at four different areas and I'm going to scale these areas from 0 to 10. And I look at reviews because reviews normally leads to a reduction in the customer lifetime value. Less customer lifetime means the less time that your customer spends on your platform, the less time they spend on your platform, the less influence you have over them. And a lot of times that leads to you having less money. Yeah, really. And then the next thing I look at is outages. I like to look at outages because it lets you know what problems the company is fixing. And a lot of times, if you see the same problem coming up and up and up, you could tell that they're not improving the root cause. They're just solving symptoms, which could be a number of different reasons why. But outages is very, very telling to about what's going on within a company. So a third thing is CX hiring. I like to look and see if they have any customer support or success or experience roles, because if they are willing to increase their support costs, that means that they are trying to pay for people to explain about something that should be 100% intuitive. And then the last thing is communication. And the reason why I take a look at communication is because the communication that a company sends tells me everything about what they're trying to hide. If I'm looking at the reviews and the outages and the fact that they're hiring, and I don't see anything about that in their public space, that means they're trying to conceal a lot of different issues that are going on, and people like transparency in this day and age, and that can affect the score that I give you. So let's get started. Let's start with reviews. I went to G2 for this, and a lot of times I look at I just type in reviews, you guys, and I can go through YouTube comments, Twitter, Reddit, G2, and I can find out a lot about your company just by what people are saying about it. So I went to Notion's G2. Out of 11,000 reviews, they have a 4.6. That is amazing. They are considered a top 50 company when it comes to customer experience. So right off the blue, they're going to say, no, I don't have a customer experience issue. But we need to look a little bit more granularly to see what's the actual problems and where revenue can leak, right? Revenue leaks the 1 and 2 stars, all right? So ignore those, you're leaving money on the table. And so let's take a look at Simi B. Simi B says that that Notion was a clunky interface with effective transcription. And so that means she liked one particular feature, but the other one she wasn't really understanding. Let's take a look even deeper into some of the comments that she made. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I want to give you guys a gist of what she meant by a clunky interface. So she said, I find Notion to be overly cluttered and not too user-friendly, making it difficult to navigate and utilize effectively. Boom. Instantly, she told you what the problem is. She said, despite sitting through tutorials, setting it up is cumbersome and not intuitive, which leads to a regret of purchasing it. So automatically, she's letting you know she doesn't like the fact that she spent money on this product because she doesn't understand the value that she got from it. Skipping along, we're going to say the setup process, although easy to install, is extremely difficult to figure out, detracting from the user experience and making it a source of frustration. So she's frustrated. She sees what you have, but at the end, she says, Notion isn't helping me stay organized with anything other than my Zoom calls. Wow. Okay. Simi B went from 1-2. All right. She really did. And honestly, I'm like the two guys in the picture. I'm like, ooh, Simi, what you mean? Lacking in usability. Difficult to navigate. I only use this for Zoom calls. If I built this program, I would be so upset. I'd be like, oh my God, that was not the intention, Simi B. That was not the intention. So I gave the reviews an 8 out of 10. The reason why I gave it an 8 out of 10 is because, as we can see, lots and lots and lots and lots of people really, really like it. However, their 1-star reviews are harsh. They are intense. And so we had to knock off 2 points for that. Next thing is outages. And what I do, I look at a status page. Most platforms have a status page. If you're worth your snuff and you have a platform, you have a status page. If you don't, go ahead and start that. You're already on your path to better customer experience. But I like to take a look at these status pages, and I like to see what type of outages are you having. So if we take a look, we could see Notion's uptime for the past 60 days, and it's 99.96%. So that means it's actually very operational. There's only one orange, so that meant only 1 day out of 60 days was there any type of really big, huge issue. So nothing catastrophic, like I said. But here's where they disrupt the trust of the user. If we take a look at their last entry that I saw when I pulled this screenshot, which is April 10th, 2026. It says, our engineers have identified the issue and are looking into a fix. And that was at 9:15, and then resolved at 9:17. This incident is now resolved. Now, I find that very hard to believe. If you worked in any type of corporate structure, you know that any outage is not instantly fixable. It's not. Please. Where do you work? Fantasyland. I've never seen an outage or any type of thing be able to be resolved in 2 minutes. That means they knew and identified a problem way before they found a solution and didn't decide to tell the users until after something was already in place, already out to be batched. Next up, right? And so that's why I say the trust was taken away from there, because it doesn't really seem like they were honest about when this issue was identified. I guarantee you, if I went to Twitter or something like Reddit or something, I would have seen a message from way before 9:15. All right, that's what I mean. So outages got a 7.10. Next, we're gonna move on to support. Support, I gave a 5 out of 10, and here's another breakdown for you guys on why I gave in a 5 out of 10. Alyssa R says great features, but support needs improvement, and gave it a 1 out of 5 stars. All right, so that means, um, and the reason why I put that there is because it seems like Notion understands this because they have job openings for support. So I had to give them some points for that. Alyssa R said that they need support. They're out there trying to make that a reality for their customers. And the reason why I started knocking off points, first things first, they need help in both customer experience and success. That means there's a flaw in the journey, and then there's a flaw in how it's being adopted. So between the two of those are big issues. I can tell that there's had to be a lot of friction somewhere in the company, and that's why we need to hire in both areas. So I took off some points for that. I also took off points because this is not just an isolated incident, it's a global incident. We have positions in New York, San Francisco, Seoul, Ireland, Germany. So it looks like no matter where you are in the world, you are in need of a better customer journey and a better way of becoming more engaged with this particular product. So 5 out of 10. That means there's definitely a need to fix their customer experience environment. All right. And then last but not least, we take a look at communication. Communication is huge. And the reason why communication is so huge is because it tells me a lot about how you talk about what you have going on, right? So we all know no one's perfect, right? Same thing with a company. I believe that customers nowadays, in such a big social media age, regard transparency at its highest. Okay. So if you are not communicating all the different issues that you have, you're doing a disservice to your customers. And so with Notion, I really noticed something very interesting. They respond very well to their issues. They have a status page. They show you what's going on. Um, Even though it's after the problem shows up, it's there, right? What's interesting is that you don't see any public apologies from Notion. And not because they haven't needed a public apology. It's because confusion and all these poor reviews that we saw is just not become a priority for them. They know that there's a problem. And I took this clip from a recent interview the CEO Ivan Zhao did with The Verge, because it shows that even the CEO knows that there's underused features, that his product is hard to adopt. However, he's still in this question mode of what to do about that, right? And so, yeah, it says, the interviewer says, yeah, the database is my number one Notion brick that they use, right? And his response is, people don't discover that easily. We need to do a better job of getting people to understand its power. And then he asked towards the end, how do we democratize that? That's our purpose. That two sentences tells me so much. That means, one, they don't know how they democratize the power of their tools. They are still trying to figure out how to communicate to their users, how to actually use what they've built, right? So again, we already saw that you were having customer journey issues because you're hiring for customer experience. We already knew that. And then I like the fact, and the reason why I didn't mark him down very low is because he says that's our purpose. That's a CEO who understands that there is a problem and who is going to be willing to make a change and make a difference because he knows that there's a gap. He's hiring for that. He's making communication, he's making it known that he knows that there's a gap, right? And so he's going about this. And even though it's just a small number of reviews that are giving him this issue, he's taking care of it. So 7 out of 10 for communication, Mr. Zhao. And so when we take a look, we're going to see that I gave them a 6 out of 10. And the reason why I gave them a 6 out of 10 is because we saw they got an 8 in reviews because of their intense 1-star reviews. 7 in outages because their outages, the way they present their outages disrupts trust. They have a lot of global positions when it comes to the customer experience, and their communication is reactive and doesn't always fully address all of the customer complaints. So, what does 6 out of 10 mean to you guys, to anybody? Who cares, right? 6 out of 10 means that you're on this cusp, performative strength and right above a friction zone. And the reason why this is important is because you're right at this edge where growth starts becoming expensive. Keeping and getting customers starts becoming expensive. This is where you could start losing money, where either your customer experience is either making you money or not, right? So it's not failing, but it's not frictionless. It means that the product is super strong, but the experience is starting to feel like a lot of work. And it means that you're growing, but you're confusing people on your way up, right? And so this is what I mean by that. We're looking at 2 different types of point of views. When we look at the internal point of view at Notion, they're saying that we bring all your work together, that this is a very simple and powerful tool to use, and it's a one source of truth for all your teams, any agent, right? But then we're taking a look at Dave M, Alyssa R, Simi B, who are having different types of experiences, right? Dave M said the most overhyped, crappy software that will frustrate anyone who cares about an organized system. He gave them a 0. When you start getting these intense reviews, they start to compound. So right now, yeah, there's only 30 or 40, but not addressing any of these issues could literally, you could look around in 2 years and this could be your biggest problem. So, in summary, what are we saying? We're saying that in the CX universe, we have all these different environments and we have different archetypes. Notion's archetype is the fragmented engine. And when customers have to think too hard, it starts to become very expensive. Customers see the value in the fragmented engine, which is why they're still making money. They're still able to tell people this is a very valuable product. However, once they get people in the door, they're not able to convert them into loyal users because it's feeling very effortful. Okay. And so that's why they're at a 6 out of 8. Just at that cusp of needing some DX help. So let's do the math. So I love numbers. And then we're gonna close this on out. Let's do the math. I really like numbers because it helps you really see what the problem is. If I start telling you, oh, okay, you'll lose 15%, you don't really care what that is until I put a number value on this. So I wanted to bring back to our attention what we were talking about in the beginning. And we were saying that they had 400 million in revenue, correct? So what is the cost, right? So if you have 400 million in revenue and you have unfavorable reviews, what happens? You normally get a 15% drop in activation rate, which means that you're not getting as many customers onboarded as you used to. What does this mean? What does 15% mean to you? I started doing the math and I said, what's 15% of 400 million? That gave me 60 million. So that's 60 million off the bat, low reviews, 15% drop in activation, $60 million possibly gone, right? Huge amount of money. Let's take a look at the next thing. What's the cost of them having too many features? It's a lot of feature race. And you would think, okay, who cares, right? But in SaaS companies, they spend about 25% of their revenue on engineering. So if we take 25% of that 400 million, we're talking about $100 million was spent in 2025 to do product development. All right. Now, if we also know that in SaaS companies, only about 25% of those features are used. Things that they are built are going unused. So I said, okay, let's do roughly 70% of those features going unused. How much money would that be? That's $70 million in effort that is not delivering on your ROI. So that meant you spent $70 million thinking you were going to get that money back, and no one even opened that brand new feature that you just paid a brand new engineer to create, right? They didn't even open it. What's the point of you buying that person or paying for that person's services? What is the purpose of you doing that, right? $70 million gone. All right, let's take another look. And let's look at the real estimated cost of this expert mode onboarding that they have. This super, I need to read um, every YouTube description, Reddit post, go and search your Twitter page, all of that, right? What does that mean? That's an increase in 15% in support costs. But what does that mean in numbers and real support costs? So most companies spend about 8% of their revenue in support teams, right? So that's 32 million if we're taking that from the 400 million, right? $32 million was spent in support. And then now let's increase that by 15% because we need to add all those roles that we saw before. So we're adding $5 million to our bottom line, taking away $5 million from our revenue. Insane. Insane amount of money just by having this super hard onboarding. And then the last cost that I really wanted us to look at is what's the cost of mistrust? What's the cost of these outages? What's the cost of you not really talking about the fact that it's really hard to use your product? What's the cost of all of this mistrust? We're talking about up to a 60% drop off after they sign up. So it means people are coming to your page, they're signing up, and then they're not using it. They're not going to keep paying your subscriptions. They're not coming back, right? Um, and that's not all lost in revenue. That's 60% drop off. Doesn't mean everybody doesn't cancel their subscriptions. Okay. We all know that. So I just kind of assumed, let's say 20% of revenue is impacted by this mistrust that we've had, right? That is $80 million that we're leaving at risk, right? And so I was still even just a little cautious and I brought it back. I said 50 million. $50 million in impact, okay, from all these people not trusting you anymore, not wanting to really use this product because it's not living up to what you're saying it's supposed to do. You said this would be simple. You said it would be easy. And I'm finding it very, very difficult to navigate, right? That's exactly what Simi B said, right? And so what does that mean in total? What is the total estimated cost of Notion's fragmented engine? $185 million at risk, you guys. $185 million at risk. And this is without this is me being conservative. Can really get up to almost $230 million a year. Just gone. Just gone. Okay. This is why your customer experience is so important. So when you start feeling like your company is harder to run than it should be, and you're seeing your teams working really hard, but you're just not getting the results you want. And you're seeing a lot more poor reviews. You're seeing a lot more confused customers. It's not random. You are operating inside a CX universe and it is affecting you. Okay. Whether you've named that universe or not, that archetype, whether you know where you are, if you know whether you have the CX score or not, it doesn't matter. This is already shaping your customer experience. It's already telling you everything you need to know about your churn and what is costing you in revenue, how much money you're leaving on the table, how much more money you could make. Think about those sales goals you have for the end of the year. How could changing CX help you reach those goals, right? And so I want you to really think about that. I want you to think about what is the cost of you not knowing the CX score? What is the cost of you not having this environment mapped? What is the cost of you not knowing? For Notion, it's about 150, $180 million. That is the cost of Notion not knowing their CX environment. Okay. What is it going to be the cost for you? This is exactly why I built Sage Strategy Group. I want to help companies move from guessing to diagnosing and then to actually fixing the problem, the environment that they're working in, and not just the symptoms. And that's what the CX Universe framework does. It shows you what game you're playing, and then it also shows you how to win it. So, for you guys, I want you, if you're listening, you made it all the way to the end, and you are very interested in finding out what your CX score is, take a look, go to the link on your screen, the link in the description, and take the CX diagnostics quiz. Okay. You need to take that. This diagnostic quiz will help you find your archetype. And then I really want you to know once you see the archetype, you'll never be able to unsee it. And you'll start moving so much faster when it comes to making decisions about your customer experience. All right. So that's it for Notion. That's it for the Fragmented Engine. But next episode, we are breaking down a new archetype, and it's called the Mirage. Okay. And this is when your marketing works way better than your product. So that means you're getting a whole bunch of high growth. Everybody's super excited, but when they get it, they're super unimpressed. And they're so unimpressed, they didn't even tell you. They just quietly not come back. And yes, we're scoring a real company, and you call it Shopify. All right. We'll see you next week, everyone. Thanks for watching the CX Universe.
Thanks for watching the CX Universe. If something in your company feels off, but you can't explain why, take the CX diagnostic quiz below.